Okay, we're with Darrell Lane. He's going to tell us about his explorations on what he calls his mountains, because he spent a lifetime exploring, and while he's researching and exploring, he came up with all kinds of interesting things, the ancients and a lot of things. So with that, I'll just let him tell his story. Darrell, take it.
Okay. Well, it kind of all starts out in 1963. When I was 13 years old, I had the opportunity to go to a desert and go hunting with my cousins. Hunting and fishing really was the family, part of the whole family adventure. We would go out there and hunt chukar and quail and rabbits, cottontail and jacks. And why jacks? Do people really eat jackrabbits? Oh, yeah.
I've never heard of people eating jackrabbits before, but they do. Huh?
Yeah. And there's only one way to cook a jackrabbit, and that's in stew.
Huh?
Anyways, and my Aunt Marilyn could make the best jackrabbit stew there is. Anyways, but it doesn't matter. Anyways, so I went with them, and we had a great time. Well, anyways, on our way back, there was a couple guys in the Jeep, and they stopped and they started talking to Uncle Tommy. And anyways, and so my Uncle Tommy had invited them in for a dinner of chukar, quail, and rabbits. So we're sitting around the campfire, us kids just listen to the adults talk. And Uncle Tommy was doing a lot of talking at first. It was just basic talking, getting friendly and everything else. And pretty soon these guys started telling their story. And their story was pretty amazing. It was pretty fantastic. But it was one story that led into another story. When I heard it, it was exciting. It was wonderful. It was borderline fantasy. I wasn't too sure I believed it. But for some reason, I retained the entire memory of it. And
so you was 13?
13.
13 at this time?
Yeah. So the basis of the story was they were both prospectors. Charlie was the old guy, Clint was the younger guy. Anyways, somehow they hooked up together and they worked this mining claim. A gold mining claim. Placer. It wasn't a mine, it was placer. Anyways, they started finding some pretty strange objects on the claim. And they didn't know what they were. They had no idea, but they were kind of interested in it, and they were also dumbfounded. Anyways, they knew a lot of the local mining people in that community at the time, and they went to help another miner, and his mine was just north of Walker Pass, off of Walker Pass, in the Southern Sierras. And this miner also had found some strange stuff.
Same type of stuff?
Pretty close to the same type of stuff. And what Charlie and Clint were finding were round discs that looked like records.
Really?
Like records, record players, they were bigger than the 45 RPM.
Were they made out of stone or
they were made out
crystals?
Of stone. No, they were made out of stone.
Okay.
And they were probably about the size of the old 78 RPM records, from the 20s and 30s, somewhere around there. Anyways, and so they were finding those and some other strange stuff. And so they were enthused about it. They were looking for explanations from different people about it. And sure enough, these friends that they knew and helped in their mining adventures. You know, they'd been finding stuff.
How far apart were these two mines? 100 miles?
Oh, no. Oh,
10
no.
miles?
10 to 15 miles away.
And they're finding the exact same type of stuff. This is just laying on the ground, or this is while
No.
they're in the mine? This is in the rocks in their mines, or they find caverns? Or
Both of them were found in Kalichi.
in Kalichi.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. The ones at Charlie and Clint's were found in Kalichi, and the miner that they helped was found in Kalichi.
Huh.
Anyway, so, but they were traveling to different places, trying to get some explanation about it. And they went to a guy they somehow found out about, found through some source, and it was out Barstow Way. And they went and saw this guy. This guy was an old historian, and pretty much had led a pretty fantastic life. And he had quite a history behind him. He was an old-time cowboy, sheriff, or marshal, some kind of country cop. And he had pictures and books, all kinds of antiques, and also a lot of this weird stuff that's been found all over the desert. Anyways, and so they took this to him to see if he knew anything about him. And he not only knew about him, but he knew the location where they were found without Charlie and Clint divulging where the location was.
Huh?
Yeah. Anyways, and so he fed them some knowledge about it. Anyways, and so they came on back, and that's what they were doing in between their mining. They were going around seeing certain people, and they knew some of the Indians in the area, and they talked to some of the Indians and that type of thing. They found this old desert rat. This desert rat just lived from abandoned building to abandoned building, and he didn't work. He scrounged. That's all. He was just a scrounger. And this old desert rat, he had a history behind him. He knew about this place where there was a lost city, but he knew about the Spaniards being there too. He went on and he told Charlie and Clint some stories about this place and everything else. And then after that, he shut up and wouldn't talk anymore. And so they kept trying to cajole him to open up and give him more information. Anyways, he wasn't going to talk unless he could cut a deal with him. And so he did, Charlie and Clint, they didn't know what kind of deal they could cut with him. Well, he wanted some wine. He wanted some cigarettes. He wanted some food. Anyways, he made a list of what he wanted. And so he gave it to Charlie. And Charlie read it. And Charlie turned around to Clint. And he says, "Here's the list. Go get it. I'm staying with it." Anyways, and Charlie went. And so Charlie went shopping while Clint stayed with the old guy. Anyways, a couple hours later, Clint comes back and he has everything that the old guy asked for. That's when the old guy opened up and told him where to go. And not only told him where to go, but drew a rough map of the area. And from what was on the map and what he said about this area, apparently the old guy had been there. So he knew a lot about it. And so that was it. And they left the old guy. They didn't not go there immediately. They had work to do, assessment work or something, I can't remember. But it took them about a week or so to get all prepped and everything. But anyways, where they were going was Black Mountain, which is the northern end of the El Paso Peak country. What they call the El Paso Peaks. And which is a good 10 miles south of Inyoker. And in the same neighborhood of, I think it's called Indian Wells Valley. Anyways, and so they found this old road that he talked about, and he also had on the map some old camps with a bunch of old cars where these old camps were, and just miscellaneous. But how he said, you'll recognize this road by this and such and this, and these are the monuments out there, different camps people had made over the years. Anyway, so they found the road, and they had a Jeep, and and they went up the backside of Black Mountain, and they got so far in the Jeep where they had to park the Jeep and get out, and they couldn't go any further, and they started climbing the mountain. It's more explicit in my book, for sure. Anyway, so they were on the mountain, and they had supernatural experiences up there. This one time they were up there, and they were outfitted with film, movies. They had a movie camera, and they found stuff. They'd taken movies of it, and then they go back, and they get back to the claim and where their trailers were and everything else, and stuff ended up missing that they couldn't find, and they knew damn well that they put it in their packs and everything else. And everything was kind of, something was weird here, Anyways, the last time they went back, they got enshrouded in a heavy, thick fog. They could look across over the top of the fog, and they were like freaking out or something. They thought it was an ocean out there, and it looked like the ocean. And so they were kind of under a spell. Well, in this fog, they could make out beings, barely in the shadows, darting back and forth around them. They had all different kinds of supernatural things going on, and they elected to get the hell out of there. And so they left.
It scared them.
It scared the hell out of them.
Huh.
And so they left. And they finally made their way down to the Jeep, and took their Jeep, drove off the mountain, never returned.
And this is the story they're telling you pretty much at the campfire.
In the campfire.
Okay.
Anyways, and that's that. I haven't told this story for a long time, and I've forgotten a lot of it.
Yeah.
But in my book, I recount the whole thing.
Yeah.
Exactly how it happened. Anyways, so I thought that was a really interesting story. Anyways, but it was just a neat story. That's all it was.
Yeah.
I didn't have any big beliefs in it that it was real or anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was 1963. Okay, well, fast forward, the end of 71, maybe the first part of 72. It's right after I got out of service. I went to work for Pedersen Tire Company, and my oldest brother, Marsh, he was the manager at the Redondo Beach store, and it was a Goodyear dealership. And so I went to work for him, busting tires, and it was about a couple months down the road, and he had a buddy that worked down the street that was a manager of the tire department for Butler Buick, and he was looking for a guy. And anyways, my brother said, you can make more money working for Bud than you can for me. So well, you don't mind, I'll go down and see him. Okay. So I went down there and met Bud. Sure enough, he hired me. So I went to work for Butler Buick. But the best part about Butler Buick is when I met Bones and Gene. And Bones worked 2 bays down from me. And he was in the tune-up department. And he was a tune-up man. And he was an old, grizzled type of guy. And he had a gruffy voice and everything like that. You know, that's the way he talked.
Yeah.
Just like that. He's kind of a little guy, but he was a tough guy. Because he taught karate and jiu-jitsu for the police department.
Really?
Yeah. And all kinds of other stuff. Anyways, and he was the only guy that I knew that could take chopsticks and put them in his throat and just shove them and break them. You know, I never seen that in my life.
Wow.
He was a tough guy.
Huh.
But a neat guy, you know. Anyways, and then come to find out, he was a miner, part-time miner. And his partner was Gene. And Gene worked over in the heavy front-end department, which was out of our shop. There was 3 big shops there, open shops. And Gene worked in this other shop. And that was his mining partner. And so almost every day at lunch, they had a lunchroom upstairs at the end of this shop. And so I started spending all my lunches with Bones and Gene. And so they, because I was interested in the mining thing. Anyways, and the outdoors and everything else. Anyways, I'm finding out that they were mining tungsten out there in Mojave Desert. Well, what part of Mojave Desert? Well, it was the south end of the El Paso Peak country. And anyways, and they were mining tungsten, but they were getting byproducts of gold and silver, and they were finding oddities and things like that. They found petrified chipmunks and all different kinds of stuff. Oh yeah, all kinds of stuff in their mine.
Really?
Yeah, you know, that were petrified and this and that.
Huh.
Or, you know, turned into rock. And anyways, and so, hey, this sounded like a great, you know, thing. Anyway, so I kept listening to all of this, you know. Well, guess what? And they started telling this wild story one day about twin stone chairs that sat facing each other, and there was a stone table. Anyways, I'd heard this story before from Charlie and Clint.
They told this story at the campfire about that. Huh?
Yeah. And that drew me in. I wanted to know more about this now. And so they said, well, it's kind of a secret. He said, we just don't take anybody there, you know. This is a secret place. You know, well, these are old guys. You have to understand, these guys 55, 60 years old. Okay, when they say it's a secret place, they're dead serious.
Yeah.
Dead serious. You know, so, okay, well, crap, you know, I didn't mean to intrude upon this, you know, but I'd still like to go, you know. And so one thing led to another, and they had to make sure that I was going to keep the secret. And, of course, I promised them, not only then, but when I got on up to their mine, I promised them again. And anyway, so they gave me directions to the mine and when to come out. And we didn't work Saturdays or Sundays. And those guys were always gone, almost every weekend. Or anytime they had a vacation, they were gone. And they went mining in their mine. And So they were always gone. Well, what about when they were working? Weren't they? They talk about all this equipment and everything else they had there. You know, what, they just leave it all there? Do they haul it back up? What did they have? No, they've got a mine caretaker, old Jim.
Really?
Yeah. Anyways, and he lives out there. And so, anyways, and they told me. They gave me directions how to get there and the whole 9 yards. And kind of gave me a rough idea who old Jim was and everything. He lives in this trailer that they gave him, and you'll find him there. And if he's gone, he'll put a note on the door. And you are not to leave, and you are not to leave your vehicle. You know, you don't walk around or anything like that, okay? He carries a gun. He's the caretaker. But he might be gone for supplies or to see his buddy, Tiger, or he might take off and go prospecting. But most likely, he'd take off and go buy some wine. Anyways, they said he'll be there. He's always there every Saturday. Anyways, I got busy on that Saturday morning. And I got up there, and I thought I was early. Okay, I thought, oh, shit, I'll be, I'm here before Bones and Gene will ever get here. It was about 9 o'clock then. I was making good time.
Yeah.
Anyways, I come pulling in. They were already there, and they were down in the mine. Anyways, but I didn't find that out until I pulled on up to old Jim's trailer. And anyways, so I pulled on up to old Jim's trailer, and nobody was around. Nobody came out of the trailer. I kind of sat there in the car for a little while, and there was this great big dog, about that big, maybe that big. I'm not sure. It was a big dog, and it looked ferocious. And anyway, so I'm thinking to myself, am I going to get out of this car? Am I going to get out of this car and get ate? Anyways, so I built up enough nerve, and I got out of the car, and the dog come running at me, and as soon as he came to me, I realized this dog he just loved people. All right, so we were instant friends. And so I was petting him and everything else, and old Jim come out of his trailer, and you gotta love desert rats, because they're real tough people.
Yeah.
Real hardy.
Yeah.
Anyways, and he comes out of the trailer. He's got a t-shirt on. He's got a regular shirt, long sleeve shirt on. Okay. He's got some kind of little jacket on. He's got another jacket on. And he's in his boxer shorts with his boots on. And his hair's all gruffed up. He's got about a week's worth of growth. And he comes out yelling and screaming. But he, damn well, Bones and Gene told him I was coming.
Yeah.
Anyways, he was trying to scare the hell out of me. And he did.
And he did.
I know. But anyways, so he called me Darby. Oh, you're Darby. Anyways, but anyways, so yeah, they're down in the damn mine. They're mining, And anyways, he just hang out with me. He had these old chairs he got from the dump or something.
Yeah.
He had chickens. Bones and Gene set him up with everything.
Huh?
He had chickens. Eggs, had his own little chicken yard, that was coyote proof and everything else, Had his dog, Had his trailer. He was set. And Bones and Gene would buy him groceries, all the wine he could drink, Anyway, so I learned a lot off old Jim in the few years I knew of him. He was a real desert rat, a real outdoorsman, good prospector, real good prospector. Old Jim was in World War II. He was in the Navy and got out at the end of World War II and got married, had 2 little girls. He became an insurance salesman, and Korea broke out. He went back into the Navy. And Korea ended. He came out of the Navy and started with insurance again. And anyways, life was pretty good for him, he said, on up until the girls were growing up. And between the girls and his wife, he was pretty much henpecked. And he was having a rough time with it. And finally, one day, he said, enough is enough. And he loaded up his car with what he had at the house. And I think they lived in Long Beach or somewhere down there. And he didn't have a lot, but whatever he had, he loaded up his car. He told his wife he was going out on route or whatever, and he left. And he got up into the town of Mojave, and he filled up his car with gas, and he did some major shopping, food shopping. He bought a sleeping bag, a tent, a stove, some camping utensils, stuff like that. He didn't know where he was going. He was going somewhere, but he did not know where. He was just getting away. And he drove on out, and anyways, and he hit. I think he hit Gold Canyon, but it might have been the Mesquite Canyon or maybe Last Chance Canyon. I can't remember. But anyways, his car broke down. Got stuck in the sand or something. I can't remember. And anyways, he just camped out right there. Wherever his car broke down, I can't get out. Okay, this is camp. I'll set up the tent. Anyways. And then after that, he just started wandering the hills. And over a period of time, he ran out of food and water and everything else. And now he's in the desert all alone and under the elements. He laid down to go to sleep and die. And but that wasn't his fate. Because Bones and Gene showed up, walking the desert with black lights. And they found him. And nursed him back to health. And was shortly after that, they found what they were looking for, his tungsten load. And they made him a partner. And he was the caretaker. This is a pretty interesting story.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah. Anyways, and so anyways, getting back to it. So Bones and Gene came out of the mine shortly, and I met them, the whole 9 yards. And well, they had to show me the mine, But you're not afraid of holes, because if you are, it's tough shit, Here's the mining hat. You got to put a mining hat on. We got a little elevator here, a little tram train, and then we got an elevator at the bottom. Anyways, they gave me the whole classic tour of the mine. It was really cool. And I was there when they were setting the dynamite and the whole deal.
Mm-hmm.
And they did not. They used the old-fashioned way of doing the dynamiting. And then we got out of there in time. They had, I don't know, 3 or 4 minute fuses or something like that. We got out of there. And, no sooner we got out of there, the blast went off. And they said, well, that's it. We can't go to work until tomorrow. We got to let it clean out, So he showed me around, gave me a grand tour of the claim, this and that. And basically, that was it for the day, So, no, we're not going to go see the stone chairs. Oh, no, we'll go tomorrow. Anyways, okay, that's cool,
Had you told them the story that you heard when you was a kid from the other guys?
No.
Okay. So they didn't know you knew.
All I told them was that I did tell them that I knew the story.
Okay.
But I didn't go into the depth of it. And anyways.
Did these guys happen to find any of these stone discs or anything like that in their mine?
No.
Okay.
No. They never found anything like that.
Okay.
All they knew that
they found these stone chairs with a table.
Yep.
An altar or something.
Yeah, and guess who took them there?
Who?
Old Jim.
Huh.
Yeah. Old Jim and Tiger used to go on Black Mountain.
Ah.
And the way Old Jim tells it is they were way too far north. They were looking for this little canyon, of where another friend of theirs who had just recently passed away, had given them detailed instructions on how to find this little canyon, and there was really some very good prospects there, and where he'd found some pretty nice nuggets. And so Old Jim and Tiger, they were interested in that. And so they were looking for this little canyon. And according to Old Jim, they just walked way too far north. And so they said, okay, it's not here. We don't know where it is. Let's turn around and go back, And it was on their return trip. They ran into the stone chairs.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, and through some conversation and everything else, they told Gene and Bones about it. And Bones was really interested in it. And they were both very down-to-earth people. But Bones was really interested in it. And so they went up, and they said but it took Bones and Gene 2 or 3 tries until they found it. Anyways, so that was that. Anyways, and so where did I leave off? Huh?
They had the explosion. They
took me a grand tour around the claim, yeah. And so anyways, and they had a bunk shack, with a old-fashioned potbelly stove, And anyways, and so spent the night there with the guys, and they had bunks in there. They had enough because Bones had boys that would come up sometimes and help him. And I don't think Gene had boys, but Bones did. He had boys, and then his boys had friends, and they'd come on up. And anyway, so there was 6 or 8 bunks in the bunkhouse. But the bunkhouse was old. And because there was a ghost in the bunkhouse. But the ghost usually liked to hang out on the porch. That's the way, he won't bother you because he liked to hang out on the porch. But sure enough, you'd be sleeping in there, and you would hear some odd stuff going on, and, I was probably maybe 12 or 15 times there, you know, spent the night there and everything else. So the second or third night, shit, it's a piece of cake, you know. But the first night, that kept me awake.
Really?
Yeah.
So how old are you at this time, approximately?
I was 22 or 23, something like that. Anyways, and so the following morning, we took a Jeep ride. And there's a road that takes off to the left. It's Gene said it was an old wagon road originally, turned into a Jeep road. So we took that. And that kind of winds up and winds up and winds up slowly, slowly, slowly. And then it crosses this real steep ravine and then climbs up a little higher and then finally get up to a place where you have to stop. There's a turnaround. And that's it. And you can't go anymore. We got the Jeep. I didn't know it at the time because I don't know where the hell they're taking me, you know. Well, it's north of the peak, of the northwest peak. Anyways, and since you've been there, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anyways, and you remember where we went and found the carvings of the twin gods?
Yep.
Okay, and well, that right there is where the terraced valley is. Okay, well, if you keep on going to the north, higher on up, that's where the twin stone chairs are that face each other.
Okay.
Okay. Anyways, so, but we didn't come down this way. We kept to the ridge. Okay. Gene, that's where I learned about ridges, was from Gene. He says, stay to the ridge. He says, we'll tell you when to go down. Anyways, and so we stayed to the ridge and then found where they had their trail. And then we came on down and we're coming on down and Gene says, there it is, right there. And I looked and, crap, I don't see anything. I'm expecting to see something fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't see anything. And anyways, we get on up to it. And anyways, Gene says, there it is. What do you think of it? I said, where is it? This is crazy. You know, I have my big fools in front. Anyways, and so they had the whole thing covered with brush.
Oh.
You couldn't see it.
Couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Oh.
So they started pulling the brush out and everything else, and there was carved out of olivine basalt, great big twin stone chairs facing each other, and in between was this great big table, and everything was covered with petroglyphs.
On top of the table?
On top of the
chairs,
table, on the back of the chairs, nothing on the seats of the chairs, but the chairs all one piece. Okay? Not two-piece chairs, one piece chairs.
So are these big as in they fit me and you perfectly, or are they bigger than that?
Well, they're a little bit bigger than that. They're big. They're made for big people.
Giants?
Well, depends what you call a giant.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, you know, is Wilt Chamberlain a giant?
Yeah, I guess he is. To me, he is. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So big chairs. Okay. Okay. Anyways, and so I stood there as they uncovered it. I realized this is all true. And who the hell made this stuff?
Wow.
You know, and so now I'm having big questions in my mind.
Yeah.
Anyways, and so They uncovered, and it was in a big circular, probably bigger than this room, depression. And Bones and Jean were sitting at the edge of the depression as I walked on down, starting to inspect all of this. And they decided to have a smoke break while I went to investigate. And so they were sitting on the edge having a smoke, and then they were talking amongst each other. And I went on over there, and something, I thought, so decided to sit in one. And that was my biggest mistake. So I sat in one of these stone chairs, and all of a sudden, according to Bones and Jean, I disappeared.
And you could still see them?
I couldn't see them either. I was in a fog.
It was like a fog rolled in?
No, a fog didn't roll in. All it's an instant fog.
Was a fog, huh?
Yeah. It was like, okay, I don't take drugs. I've never taken drugs. Okay. All my close friends, okay, drugs. Me? No, never. I've been high ever since I was born. I don't need drugs. But I sat in that stone chair. I went into another world. And it was just like a great big fog. And right in front of me was this big guy. And it was some kind of, best I can explain it to you, he was in like a full dress, and he was holding up his hands like he was holding something, but I couldn't see what he was holding. It was like this, but maybe it was a basketball. But it was clear, it was invisible.
See it, but
I couldn't see it.
He was holding something.
He was holding something up, and he was talking to me. And he was trying to tell me something.
Could you hear him? Or?
Yeah, I could hear him.
But you didn't understand what
I couldn't understand what he was saying.
Or?
Yeah, a totally different language.
Okay.
Totally foreign. Okay? But he was standing there, and he was telling me.
You said a big person, like what, Chamberlain big?
Like 8 or 9 feet tall.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, but he was dark complected, he had long hair, he had feathers through his hair, not like Indian feathers or anything, something different. Okay. He had a robe on, colorful robe, red, white, or red, blue, super colorful, rainbow type thing, The funny thing is he had some kind of boots on, I couldn't make it out.
Boots or sandals?
No sandals.
Some type of a boot.
Some type of boot. Anyways, and this all happened in a second or two. It seemed like forever, but Bones and Jean said, don't, this all happened just real quick. Okay. Anyways, while I was in this trance, Bones and Jean were running around looking for me. What the hell happened to him? Where could he go?
Were you aware if they're looking for you or not?
No.
Okay, you was oblivious to that.
Totally oblivious
to the other thing.
Yeah. Anyways, and so something happened to me. I'm listening to this whole thing. I'm seeing this vision and everything else. And I get out of the chair, and all of a sudden, bing, I'm back to reality. And Bones and Jean found me. And Jean says, "Where the hell have you been?" I said, "Hey, I've been here the whole time. I haven't moved." But I could ask you the same question. Anyways.
Did you tell them what you seen?
Yeah.
Did you say what they say?
Yeah. They didn't say anything. They listened to me intently.
Had they sat in the chair and
got
the same experience?
They've never sat in the chair.
Okay.
They told me that's not good. Okay. Anyways, but they wanted to see my reaction to it. And of course, I'm a dummy. I didn't know anything about this stuff. You know. Anyways, so where they were sitting before, as I was walking on down, they were sitting and having a smoke. We ended up sitting in the same place. Of course, I started smoking. Nervously, I might have smoked 4 or 5 almost immediately, just like fucking the man, So it was a wild experience.
That would be a wild experience.
Yeah, and I mean, it was so wild that you question yourself over all of this stuff. Am I losing my mind?
Yeah.
I mean, what's happening here? You know. And does this all really happen? Why is everything so? I can remember it. It's hard to get out of your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're saying to yourself, "Wow." So that was what that experience was like. We went on back to the mine. We didn't talk very much after that. When I sat down and I started smoking, I relayed everything to Bones and Gene, and they didn't sit there and tell me that I was full of it.
They just listened.
They listened intently. They didn't ask a lot of questions. They just listened intently. And anyways, we kind of sat there in silence for, 5 or 10 minutes, looking at the stone chair. And Bone says, "Well, I guess we better cover it up now." And so they grabbed the brush, covered it all up, stood back, looked at it, went back, kind of rearranged the bushes, make sure nothing's going to blow away, that type of thing. Stood back, look at it, go back, like they were taking care of this thing, and they were, And anyways, after about maybe 30 minutes or so, they were all done. And Bones come walking on, or Gene come walking on up, turns around, looks at it, and goes, "I think that's good. Let's go." So we went back up and all the way to the Jeep and drove on down and didn't really talk a lot, and got on down to the mine. And by that time it was in the late afternoon on Sunday. And I said, "Gosh, I better go home. I think it's time to go home." And Bone said, "Yeah, I think it's time for you to go home too." I said, "Okay." So I left, went home. And so I thought about that the whole week.
Yeah, I bet you did.
Yeah. And more than that. And anyways, and so, but I kept on spending my lunch with him and everything else. But that Friday, I asked Gene, I said, "Do you mind if I come up this weekend?" And he says, "I don't mind. Go ask Bones." And so went on over to Bones. I said, "Bones, I already asked Gene, and he says he doesn't mind. Do you mind if I come up this week?" And he goes, "No, it sounds great. Come on up. We'll see you in the morning." He says, "You come early, you get breakfast." So I started going to the mine. So I went to the mine a lot. And but I had this thing in me now. I wanted to know.
What happened to you?
What happened to me? Anyways, and so when I realized that I was going to I wanted more info about this. I realized my car couldn't make it where their Jeep was. Okay, that I had to attack the mountain from another side. Okay. Anyways, and so I can't remember which time it was, but anyways, I promised Bones and Jean that I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to talk about it, this experience or anything. But even if it took the rest of my life, I was going to find out what this place was. And then I gave him my promise.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first promise. 3 promises. I made 3 promises over this thing. I kept all 3.
Awesome.
Anyways, and the last promise, that was a very personal promise. And if I had not kept my promise, I could have been a rich man. But I'm happy I kept that promise. Anyways, and so that's basically what initially happened. And so I started attacking the mountain from the western side. And it was slow going. It took me several trips to figure out how to get in. And because I was pretty much a newbie into desert traveling, I had a car with a 1-wheel drive. So I figured, okay, well, I'm going to need shovels, picks. I'm going to need lots of stuff in case I get trapped in sand. I'm going to need something I can get air, like a little air compressor I can take with me, and or pumps or something, in case I have to take air out of my tires and then put air back in. So I just kind of started outfitting myself. And of course I had some of the basic camping stuff, but I was buying camping stuff, and the whole 9 yards. And I was outfitting myself, and I had guns, and I wasn't too sure whether I should take guns or not, and so I started taking guns with me. Okay, but after a while, I don't need the guns, I take a shotgun, to shoot rabbits when I can or whatever, but I wasn't too sure what I was going to do. I was going to do something, but what? I was going to explore. So I come on up to the mountain, on the south end of the mountain. And I'm driving, and I see this thing. There's 3 canyons that empty out to the west. And I'm starting in the first canyon. And anyways, I see this thing that looks like it's some kind of sign or something, but it's gigantic. And I'm trying to figure out what it is. And so I'm driving in on the road, and it's all sandy in there. Joshua's in there and everything else. And it's some kind of mining road from some time ago, years before me. And I'm driving in, and as I'm driving in, I'm looking at this thing on the side of the canyon. But it's facing me, and it looks just like kind of like a horseshoe, upside down horseshoe, with a line going up the middle. And what is this thing? Anyways, I'm looking at it, and I'm taking pictures. And I didn't have a real good expensive camera. I had these Kodak throwaway cameras, that type of thing. And I started taking pictures. And anyways, so I drove on back out to the Inyo Red Rock Road. And I could see it. And I wonder how far away I could drive away from this and see that thing. So I drove all the way out to Highway 14. I could see it. Barely. So I take my binoculars out. Yes, I can see it. Okay. Well, how much farther away do I have to go before I can't see it? And so I kept on driving over on the other side. Anyways, finally I realized, okay, this is some kind of marker for somebody to see from a long, long ways away. You know? Anyways, and so I drive on back, make camp, okay? And now I start exploring. And I tackle the first canyon. And I start finding a lot of unusual stuff. What I think is unusual, you know. And it's not as unusual. I think it's unusual. It's nothing compared to what I really find later on. But anyway, so finally I start hiking this canyon. And I get on up. Now I'm halfway up the mountain, and all of a sudden there's, above this canyon, there's a great big flat. Kind of a flat. This is a rocky, tough country. But there's kind of a big flat there. And so I have to walk around and kind of explore this. There's looks like ancient writing on rock. All kinds of weird carvings on these rocks and everything else. What is all this stuff? Okay, well, of course they're petroglyphs, but I didn't know, you know, what all this stuff was. And I can't read any of it, you know, but it's weird, you know. And so, and the more I look, the more I find. And by God, there's petroglyphs in these rocks that look like flying saucers.
Really?
Yeah. Anyways, but, you know, but that's all I can, you know,
yeah,
determine and everything. It doesn't look like a flying saucer to me, you know. So, but it must mean something else, of course, you know. But, and then I see one, and it looks like a great big fish, you know, that has a bunch of bones on it. Okay, that's all I know, you know. And this fish has a wide open mouth. And anyways, so I'm going around taking pictures of all these things as I find them. I find this really one wild cliff, and it's this being standing there looking at me. He's got a head, he's got eyes, he's got a body, but he's got all these tic-tac-toe things running across his torso. Okay, and then he's got this halo running around him. I'm saying to myself, wow, this is really cool.
yeah.
But what is it? I don't know what it is. I ain't got no clue. Anyways, so I take pictures. Then I come walking by this one rock, and I recognize this rock because I could read a part of this rock. And there it is, 1716.
Really?
1716. 1716. Who's here in 1716? Spanish. It's a Spanish date. And then there's other markings on it too. Anyway, so I take pictures of that. So there's lots of cliffs in there. And then there's some other areas in there. They almost look like buildings, and of some sort. Anyways, and then there's a great big pile of rocks in there, and but the funny part is I sat there and I looked at it. The only thing that came to my mind was, for some reason, I mean, it was totally unnatural, in my mind. It was totally unnatural for me that these rocks could possibly exist all in these great big piles. Somebody would have to physically pile them for some reason. There must be something underneath these rocks. They're hiding something. But what? Anyways, I wasn't going to tear it apart. It'd take me the rest of my life.
They were huge.
They weren't big rocks. They were...
No, I mean the piles were huge.
Yeah, the piles were huge. Anyways, so I took pictures of that. Okay. Anyways, and so I kept on exploring past that. And I was going up the mountain, and then I started finding these large circles of rocks, 4 or 5 feet tall, and then I found one that was probably 8 or 9 feet tall, but it was all caved in on the inside, and on the other side the walls were all caved in. I started looking at them. I thought, towers? They have towers here? You know, that was my first impression. It's a tower. Who does all this stuff? Well, okay. All right, so I quit right there, and I'm walking on back. And I turn around and start taking pictures and everything else. And I'm looking up at the southwest peak. I start taking pictures of the southwest peak, which is still way, way up the mountain. But I can see the southwest peak. And it looks odd for some reason, but it's cool. I like it. Anyways. And so I find more than that in there. But I decided when I write my book, I'm only going to put a little bit of this.
Right.
The whole deal is when I wrote the book, I did not know how to write a book. Okay, I was having trouble writing postcards. I wasn't a very good high school student. You know, I barely passed. Okay, I think I passed because all my teachers basically felt that they did not want to see me the following year. So when I wrote my book and I got all finished, it was the size of a congressional bill. It was 2,800 pages.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had boxes and boxes and boxes of pictures. You know, I mean, I had 4,000 or 5,000 pictures that I had taken all these years of it. And they were all kind of precious to me because I had pretty much figured out what the mountain was by the time I wrote the book. But there was just one thing I kept waiting for after I figured it all out. Okay. And I never saw that thing. I knew it had to be there. Okay. And but I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, I guess. Anyways, so that was the first canyon. Anyways, so I kind of quit the first canyon, and I kind of spent the rest of that time wandering just around the perimeter of the western face. Not the mountain itself, just the perimeter. Lots of strange stuff down in there. Well, this one time, I decided there was just one little canyon I hadn't explored that's an offshoot of the first canyon, or the first big canyon. And it looked like somebody had been digging in there. Looked like there could be an old mine in there. But there's a canyon close to it. And I wanted to explore that, and I never did. Never, for some reason. And so I decided I'm going to go out there and I'm going to explore that canyon. Anyways, so I went on out. Well, for some reason, I didn't take a gun with me. Big mistake. Major mistake. Anyways, but I've been out there so many times now that, you know, nothing ever happened to me. You know, it was the biggest thing was running out of water. You know, so
Yeah.
I always carried lots of canteens with me. I would carry a lot of water with me. I carried 2 or 3 canteens. Of course, I was young and strong then, not like now. Now I'm an old, feeble guy. Anyways, but I carried lots of canteens with me. And when I got tired of carrying them, I'd take a canteen and I'd stash it. And then I'd pile rocks up over it. And I'd make a little map of where the canteen was. And so, and that's what I did over a period of years. I started stashing. I kept on buying extra stuff so I could stash it on the mountain. You know. So I was stashing water, stashing peaches and cigarettes here and there, left and right. You know. So anytime I got in trouble, I could always go back. I knew where reserves were.
Yeah.
You know.
I want to stop for just 1 second.
Okay.
Stashing peaches, cans of peaches.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went on back. I decided I'd go into this canyon. And I went into this canyon, and I was following what looked like to be a faint trail of some sort. And it had these columns of rock stacked, you know. And at first I thought they were prospector rocks, but they were big, about the size of a basketball, but they were too small to be prospector. I never found anything on the inside of them. I then tore them apart, and if I tore a few of them apart to see if there was anything inside, I always rebuilt them.
Yeah.
Just like what they were. But I didn't know what they meant. I had no idea. Anyways, so I'm hiking along, and there's bees out here. Lots of bees. You know, they're walking in the bees. Anyways, and so keep on walking. There's a pool of water right in front of me. There's bees everywhere. Well, my canteen was kind of low. I thought, okay, hopefully I'm not going to get stung. And so I went in there, real calm, real relaxed, and I filled my canteen. I got bees all around me, hives of them. None of them touched me. And I filled my canteen, and I went on my merry way. It never bothered me. Well, not very far from this spring, I see a cave. There's a cave here of some sort. And take my flashlight, look inside. It doesn't look very deep. So I gotta be careful of rattlesnakes. But I think I can go into this cave. See if there's anything in there. Anyway, so I take my pack off and all that jazz. And grab my flashlight. And so anyways, I crawl into this cave. As at first, it's pretty good size. It's almost like this. So plenty of room.
Mm-hmm.
But as I start getting deeper in there, I find that it's going like this.
Going down.
It's going down. And anyways, I get in there and I can't go anymore. And the thing that pops into my mind is the Mexican finger thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm stuck. This is crazy. How could I get stuck? Anyways.
And all this time, you're by yourself. You're doing this all by yourself. Yeah.
All by myself. Anyways, and so I'm doing this. And anyways, I'm saying to myself, keep the Mexican finger thing, you know. And that keeps popping in my mind. But I'm pissed off because I'm stuck. You know, how could you be so stupid, you know? Anyways, and the answer is, well, it's pretty easy. You have to be stupid, you know? Anyways, so I thought, oh, God, you know. Anyways, and so I worked my way out a little bit. So this is no good. If I could just get on my back, you know, I kind of worked my way out of this thing, you know. And so finally, I somehow jiggle around and I get on my back and I put my hands up against the ceiling of this thing. I start pushing myself out. And as I'm doing it, I feel something weird on this ceiling. I'm kind of looking at it and, well, am I tripping out again or what? And I see something on this ceiling. And I stop for a bit. And there's something written on this ceiling. What is this? And so I get my flashlight out. And I'm holding the flashlight like this, you know. And I'm looking at it. And holy crap. This looks like a map of some sort. It looks like a map. Well, I get out of the cave and now I'm really excited. Holy crap. What did I find? You know, so I'm digging through my back. I know I got a pad and pencil in here. And sure enough, I find the pad and pencil. And so I go back in around my back. And so I get in and hold the flashlight up like that. I can't quite get it in my mouth, but I get it in my mouth, you know, so I can hold it. Okay, but it's a good sized flashlight,
yeah.
You know. But I got to write down while I'm inside too.
Yeah.
You know, and then you know, so I can't look down like that. I got burned, and you know, and I'm in a cramped space and everything else. And finally I get tired and I crawl back out. And I take a smoke break. And I crawl back in and I do it. Spend the whole day doing that. Until finally, this one time I crawled back out and I think I got everything on it. Okay, and it's a weird looking map. And it's got graves on it. Graves. It's got 3 crosses on it. 3 crosses. Are those these damn petroglyphs? Or are they graves? They must be graves. You know, there's graves someplace on this mountain. And, of course, I'm thinking Spanish now. I already found the 1716 thing.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking Spanish for sure. But I'm thinking graves. Or petroglyphs. Or something similar to that.
Yeah.
Anyways. So, it's getting late. I gotta get back down to camp. And so, I'm, I don't know, 3 hours away. And I get back to camp, but now I'm in the dark. But I know where I'm going. And I finally get on down. And man, oh alive, I am so damn excited. And I got a lot of beer I brought with me. And so I celebrate. Till finally, I say to myself, oh my God, I better eat something and go to bed, you know. So I do. I make something, go to bed. I really planned on getting up nice and early to get a good start. Well, it didn't quite work out that way. Had a little bit of a hangover. But it was early enough. Anyways, I got up, had my coffee, did my constitution, you know, the usual thing. And anyways, then outfitted my pack again, made sure I had new batteries for my flashlight and everything else. Because what else am I going to find along the way? I'm not going back to this whatever it is. I'm going to keep on going. Okay, I've already explored this side. Yeah. It's somewhere out in front of me.
Yeah.
Anyways, and so I keep on going. I get on up there. And I keep on going. Well, it's early afternoon. And now I find this trail, and I follow this trail, and here's some more mysterious buildings in here. Something there's more than just a few people that were up here. There were quite a few people up here. Maybe at different times, different periods, but...
So you're talking ancient buildings. You're not talking...
I'm talking ancient buildings.
Yeah, you're not talking miners or things like that. You're talking ancient stuff.
Yeah, ancient. This is all ancient stuff. Okay, but of course I don't recognize who, but it looks ancient to me. Anyways, so I get on up to a point, now I'm on this ridge, and I realize that this is the second big canyon. And so I start hiking, and remember where we were in that middle canyon, and there was an island in the canyon?
Yeah.
We were just on this side of it.
Uh-huh.
Okay? Well, I was up above that, coming down into that canyon. But then I stopped and thought, this ain't smart. Bones wouldn't like this. Because Bones said, stay to the ridges. But I'm out here exploring. I gotta find out what this all means.
Yeah.
So I decided to go down there, kid. I went down in there. I was seeing some really strange stuff. I was taking pictures. But I wasn't finding what was on this thing. Whatever I was looking at was a map of some sort or what, but I wasn't finding anything that corresponded to that thing. Anyway, so I was in the bottom of the canyon, and that was a treacherous descent. And I went back up, and that was treacherous going up. But I made it, and so I got on that ridge, and I kept on walking on that ridge. I got on up to a point where I was crossing over this ridge, and all of a sudden, I had my pack on. I had my Alice pack on. I had 2 Alice packs. When I got out of the service, I had 2 Alice packs. One is right here. The other one's still on the mountain. Anyways, so I got on up to this point, and for some reason, I turned halfway around to look at something, or maybe look at the view. I can't remember. And all of a sudden, a blast of air hit me right in the back, or hit me in the back, or something. Something hit me, and it knocked me over this ridge and down. Probably about, I'm kind of guessing, about 150, 200 feet. And when I hit bottom, I was bruised, bloody. And I really thought I'd lost my footing. But a big wind came up and pushed me over this cliff. Anyways.
Well, a cliff, or just a steep grade.
A steep grade.
So you rolled down.
I rolled down.
A couple hundred feet, huh?
A couple hundred feet. And my arms were all bloody and that type of thing. And
yeah, that's a brutal area with all that lava and that stuff's sharp, and I bet you was bloody.
Yeah. And anyways, so I got up, gathering my senses, and everything else, and a lot of this stuff fell out of my pack, And anyways, I had a can of peaches, can of pears, laying there, and I was picking that stuff up and everything else, and putting it in my little compartments like this, and I picked up these pears or peaches. I think it was peaches. And I went to put them away, and all the juice was running down my hand. And oh shit, this can's no good. It's broken up. And I turned it around. There was a bullet hole in it.
Wow.
I'm sorry, you're going to have to edit that part. Okay, so there was a bullet hole in this can. And all of a sudden, it dawned on me. Somebody's trying to kill me. And I froze for a minute. I dropped everything. And just about that time, bing, 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 bullets were coming flying at me.
Really?
Yeah. And
you didn't hear the gunshot the first time?
Nope. Never heard the gunshot the first time. And I didn't realize it, but those guys, you know, after I found out there was two guys, you know, they were shooting at me from a certain vantage point, okay, but they had another vantage point that could run around and shoot at me, okay, because after I fell down in there, okay, they lost sight of me, but they had another place where they could shoot at me.
Ah, so they ran around over there.
Yeah. And so anyways, I had to make tracks. I had to get out of there. And I'm real scared now.
I'll bet.
And so I turned around and I ran. And as I was running down that canyon, these guys were shooting right at me. I mean, they were they were hitting the rocks I was right next to. So they were definitely trying to kill me. I finally made some pretty good distance between me and them. And the sun was going down. It was it was twilight. The sun was sinking behind the Sierra Nevadas. And I had a real bad cut on my leg. And it was bleeding profusely. And now I didn't have my pack. You know, I didn't even have my bandana or anything. You know, and you know, it keeps on bleeding. What are you going to do? You keep on bleeding, and I don't have anything. I took my belt off and wrapped it around my leg. But that doesn't do any good if you're going to keep on hiking.
Yeah.
You know, you can't make a tourniquet and just keep on going for miles and miles.
Right.
You know, so I took my sock off. Okay, and anyways, I took my pants down and I put my sock right there, pulled my pants up, you know, kind of made a little bandage for it. Okay, and I kept on going. So the sun's going down. I made a good distance away from those guys. Okay, but I had to climb this ridge because from this ridge I could look back and see where they were because I couldn't see where they were in the canyon. So I made it to this ridge up on top, and I looked back to see if I could see them. Okay, but I was behind a big rock, okay, using that shelter. And so I'm looking back at them, and right there, right where they're shooting at me from, or maybe just up above it, the sun's going down, and it's shining on 3 crosses. The middle cross is it. God Almighty, it has to be 150 feet tall.
Huh?
And the cross to the right, it's not a line cross. The cross in the middle is a line cross. The cross to the right is a block cross. So, you know, it's a Maltese cross, something like that, or an Irish cross, or something like that. And then to the left is another cross, but it's smaller than the one in the middle. And
These crosses are out of rocks on the mountain?
They're carved out of this rock cliff.
They're carved in?
Yeah,
Okay.
that I will find out later.
Okay.
So I'm standing on this ridge, and I'm watching the greatest sight I've ever seen in my life. 3 giant crosses. Okay. Now, everything I wrote down in the map and everything else, okay? Oh shit, it's in this pack. It's in this pack. You know, that's all I had. You know, it was in my pack. My pack is somewhere down there. I ain't going back for it. Okay? Well, it wasn't in my pack. It was in my back pocket. Anyways, but right then and there I decided, okay, this is what it all means. This is something big. This is, you know, this is bigger than myself, you know. There's something really big here. Anyways, but I was in bad shape. And I had a long, long way to go to my car. It's getting dark and cold. And so I pushed on. And I pushed on, and then it got dark. I didn't have my flashlight or anything. It was all in my pack. But I had, you know, I knew where I had to go. But I was in the dark, you know, and it was a moonless night. And anyways, I kept on going, and kept on going. And I had to stop a lot. I had to change my sock. So I had to pull that sock out. I had to take my other sock off, put it in there, you know. And my cuts on this leg too, but it wasn't bleeding as bad as this leg. Anyways, and I had cuts all over my arms and everything else. I wasn't too worried about them because all the blood coagulated, dried up, you know. Anyways, but it was this leg here I was worried about. Anyways, but I kept on going. Then I had to stop and rest. I didn't even have cigarettes. I lost everything when I fell. And so I just could stop, get my breath, and just keep going on, keep going on. And I'm pretty much physically, at that time, a wreck. You know.
Probably mentally, too, with guys shooting at you.
Yeah. Anyways, well, then something happens. And I'm virtually a wreck now, okay? But I somehow or the other, I gotta keep on going and everything else. I'm sitting there, and something's coming at me. Well, what's this thing? Here I am, I'm getting ready to have a full-blown nervous breakdown, and this thing comes flying right at me. And it's about the size of a basketball, but it's white. But it's clear. It's white, but it's clear. It looks like the bubbles that kids play, and you know.
It's kind of see-through, but it's white.
Yeah. But it's the size of a basketball.
Huh.
It comes right at me and stops about where you are from me.
Huh.
And just hovers there. Like it's looking at me. And now I'm saying to myself, okay, this is it. You've lost your mind. You know. Now I'm hallucinating. That's what I'm telling myself.
Yeah.
You know. Point blank. You've lost it. You know. Anyways, so this thing is just there. It's waiting for me. And finally I go, oh, okay, what am I going to do? And this thing starts going this way, down the trail. And I'm watching it. And then it comes back. And then it starts going down the trail. Then it comes back. And I'm saying to myself, this thing wants me to follow it. And so I get up and I start following it. And then when I get tired, I sit down and rest, and it comes back. Well, anyways, I broke down and I started crying because I thought I'd lost it all. Anyways, when I got done crying, and it patiently was waiting for me to get done crying. And then I got up, I started following it. I have no idea what it was. But then, throughout the whole night, I follow it. And finally, it takes me right down to my car.
Really?
And I'd lost my keys, but I had to hide a key underneath the fender in my car. Anyways, but it took me right down within 15 feet of the car. And I found my hide key. And I turned around, of all things, to say thank you. Even though I've lost my mind, this thing took me to my car. The least I could do was thank it. It was gone. Totally gone. Anyways, so I found my hide key. Anyways, I popped the trunk. I found my first aid. And I had a lantern back there. I had my tent. The tent was already set up and everything, But anyway, so I got my first aid out, doctored myself, got some more beer, and basically just rested that whole day. I didn't go anywhere. And I didn't go anywhere that night. The whole day and night was spent right in camp. Then in the morning, I said, so I just better go home. And so I got in the car and drove home. Anyways, so that was quite an experience.
Yeah.
Okay. But now I had it in my mind. Okay. Camera. Get a good camera. I need a good camera. Okay. And now I'm bringing my guns back. Okay. Nobody's going to chase me off this mountain. Anyways, it took me a while to realize that. Okay. It also took me a while to build up enough guts to come back. Anyways.
Yeah.
And so, and I also brought, I had a 303 British Enfield that could really reach out. Okay. 300-400 yards away. Okay. Big and heavy gun. I didn't plan on taking it with me up the mountain. I didn't even know if I could, with all the other stuff. But I brought that along just in case somebody tried to ambush me in camp or something like that. I could shoot a long ways away. Anyways, and so, but it took me a while to come back to the mountain. And then finally, I started coming back to the mountain. And then I started realizing that there's a bigger story to this mountain. Okay? I got to take pictures. The sun setting in behind the Sierra Nevada, that's how I saw these crosses. Why did that happen? Because I go into that middle canyon during the day. You can't see anything. The crosses aren't there. Anyways, so it's the crosses. Anyways, so I kept exploring that middle canyon. I got on up, this is in 1985, I got on up to a place, and by that time I'd already found a lot now.
Found the what?
I'd found a lot.
Oh.
Yeah. Mucho.
Yeah.
Anyways, I found the Twin Stone Gods, and that's on the other ridge, and I did, but I didn't find the Twin Stone Gods. I found all those petroglyphs next to them and everything. I didn't even know the Twin Stone Gods were there because I couldn't see them. But I came from that ridge and went to the other ridge, and anyways, there's a camelback hunt there, and I was exploring that and ran into a cairn of rocks like I had found before. Only this was a large cairn of rocks, and they had a glass jar in it. I thought, okay, well this is definitely a clay marker. Anyways, so I pulled it out, unscrewed it, pulled it out. It was real fragile, you know, paper falling all apart and everything else. I opened it up. It said Frank Fish, 1959.
And for those that don't know who Frank Fish is, he was a professional treasure hunter who found quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah, right. Anyways, that's what I said. Frank Fish, 1959.
Cool.
Anyways, and it was very fragile.
I know what you're talking about, fragile, because I found a clay marker, 1954.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't have Frank Fish's name on it.
Anyway, so I had learned, I'd met Frank Fish when I was 12 years old, up there in Amador City at his museum. That impressed the hell out of me. And anyways, and that, you know, and then it was a year later, in '63, I heard the story from Clinton, Charlie and Clint. Anyways, and then, you know, whatever. Anyway, so, but when I found that started to change me. Because I looked on down across the valley to Robber's Roost, where Frank Fish had found bandit treasure. And I said to myself, and that's what I say in the book, what the hell is going on around here? Okay? So, anyways, so there's that. Okay, well, 1986, I got a buddy at Fox Maintenance. I'm working at Fox Maintenance at this time. I got this one good buddy, and he's an Indian. Okay? And anyways, and he's got a grandfather. Okay? And they're Apache Indian, but they live on the Mojave reservation in Riverside. But, well, he doesn't. Brian doesn't. He lives right there downtown Fullerton. But anyway, so I'm talking to him about all this stuff, and anyways, and so he says, hey, we have to go see grandfather. I said, who's grandfather? Well, he says, he's my real grandfather, but he's also grandfather. He knows about a lot of these things, you know, and that he, at one time, or maybe many times, he didn't know, but he knows that. One time he heard grandfather talking about how he worked for Frank Fish to find this spring. And anyways, and so he knows a lot. And so we need to go see him. I said, okay, good, let's go. We'll go Saturday morning. I had to work all night Friday night. Now that no sweat. So I never went to bed. And anyway, so I went on over, picked up Brian, and we went. And we got on over there. At first, he didn't want any part of me. He didn't want to talk to this white kids. And but I came prepared. And so I had lots of pictures and stuff like that, and everything else. And finally, after his grandson cajoling him, and I'm talking to him, I'm telling him I'm kind of a different person, you know. I'm probably white, but I'm not exactly the kind of white guy you've ever ran into. Anyways, so finally he breaks down, he relents, and anyways, he tells me, he gives me instructions on what to do and where to go to take my, he says, I can give you these instructions. If you follow them to the letter, I want you to go out. I want you to get this kind of camera and everything else really good. He writes everything down. I want you to take a picture and blah, blah, blah. And he goes on and on, gives me specific directions. And the directions are to go back out to Robber's Roost, where Frank Fish found treasure at. And he says, when you get real close up to the cave, okay, and I got his books, okay, I had his books for years, so I knew exactly what he was talking about. And so I'm thinking, well, so he's going to tell me about a cave or something like that. No, totally. He says, you're going to take a picture of Black Mountain, okay, from Robber's Roost. Says that's the best vantage point. Anyways, and so you're going to take it just as the sun's going down behind the Sierra Nevadas. It's the last 2 hours of the evening. Something magical appears. Those were my instructions, pretty much. Anyways, so I followed his instructions to the letter. Took the picture. I took lots of pictures. Anyways, I mean, a brand new camera, a really nice tripod, a wide angle lens, the whole 9 yards. So I took these pictures, and on this one picture, it shows the Northwest Peak. It's got a wolf face, a wolf looking straight at you. It's just like I'm looking at the camera, straight at you. It's a wolf. You can see the ears, you can see the nose, you can see the mouth. Kind of the little ruffle around. And believe it or not, I mean, this is all in one picture. And you've got it.
Yep, you sent me a big blow-up of it.
Yep. Anyways, and off to the left, or the right in the picture, is kind of a triangle there. And it's faintly, you can see, a figure of, it looks like a bird. Or it could be Tanit, the figure of Tanit, which is the moon goddess. Or it could be a bird. It could be a thunderbird. But definitely the wolf face. But if you come down a little bit and look in the heart of the mountain, there's 3 giant crosses. Actually, there's only 2 in the picture. The third giant cross didn't show up. But there's a Spanish sun sign close to where the third cross is. And there's also a turtle in it. Have you seen the turtle?
Mm-mm.
There's a turtle in it. And the turtle has a tail and is pointing.
You're going to have to go look.
Yeah. I won't tell you where it's pointing at.
Okay.
But once you find the turtle, you'll see it. Then there's another Spanish symbol in between the block cross and the true cross. Anyways, and there's a few more other symbols in there. Okay, and I found other stuff in there, and so I know what this all means. Anyways, well, also there's the body of the serpent, which is a lava ridge, and it comes on down. And then there's another lava ridge below it, and it comes on down, and it, from looking at it, it forms a V. And the V, and I've researched all these books, going through all these books, blah, 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 and on all of the ancient stuff, and Mexico, and you name it. Anyways, turns out the V is the symbol for the snake, or serpent. Anyways, lo and behold, there's a shadow coming out of the bottom of the canyon. The shadow, perfect, 100% perfect, outlined in the shadow of a giant earth monster, or the Giant Serpent. And it's huge. It's gigantic. And that's all in one picture. And that picture there puts me into a world within a world. And that's what really starts me on a big quest now. Anyways, so I named my book after the Giant Serpent. And so it really does exist, 100%. That picture was taken on the summer solstice of September 21st, 1986. Anyways, so there's that. Well, I kept on going. Now I not only got lots of information, but now I have concrete proof that there is something really dramatic here. But whoever engineered this, well, it was super ancient. And as far as we know, the technology, it was high technology. Had to be. High technology. So, anyways, so I kept on going. And I started finding more and more and more. And giant stone heads and stone heads and different kinds of writing. And it just goes on and on and on. That's the whole basis of the story.
Okay.
Okay, but I want to finish up with something. So, there's a lot more to this story. I wrote this book. I put everything I put down in the book is true. I put all the good points I have and also all of the bad points and faults I have, which I have many faults.
Don't we all?
Yeah. Anyways, and things don't go rosy for me most of the time, or some of the time, and some of the time they do, you know. But, and we were talking about that today, kind of, about how detectives, you know, and when you go out and search for the truth and you investigate things like that, you know, truth is stranger than fiction, and it's always a mystery, and it's you think you're done with the story, and something else pops up. You know, remember when I was talking about one of my big heroes in life is Humphrey Bogart. I really like Humphrey. Anyways, and I really like the Maltese Falcon. And that's a great movie. And, you know, where he plays Sam Spade. And, anyways, he says a lot of things, in the script, of course. You know, he didn't write it. He just acted and followed the script. But he says some really significant things that is true in all life, you know. Anyways, but so being an investigator, that's we're a researcher investigating this stuff and everything else. You don't know what the end of the story is, you know. Even though you come to a point and you think, well, this is it, you know. There's something. Nothing more I can do about this stuff. Oh, but, you know, it doesn't end there. Anyways, and so I go back to Craig Collette, okay? So, me and Craig's going on out, and we're going on out. And I'm getting burned out on this thing, you know. But, you know, I'm not coming full out on what's there because nobody's going to believe me, you know. Anyways, and anyways, I go through depressions like everybody else. I wrote 2 more books after I wrote this book, and actually the second and third book, in my opinion, were better books. And they were both on petroglyphs. and how I, over the long years, figured out what, not all of them, but the vast majority meant, and how to read them a lot differently than the archaeologists or the petroglyphologists, and how a lot of these glyphs were connected with shadows. And anyways, that lady we were talking about from your
Marijuana tapping.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm a fan of hers. Okay, without a doubt. But it's like that. What I said before. I wish she would pay attention to shadows.
Yeah.
But other than that, she's got the #1 fan. Anyways. So yeah, so we're getting back to Craig Collette. Anyway, so I'm kind of getting burnt out, but he's pushed me on. Anyways, I've been watching the mountain for a long, long time, okay? Because I knew that there was something else that was going to happen, and it was right around the serpent. I just knew it was. But, so I'd go out there, and I'd spend days, I'd spend weeks, kept waiting for it. It had to be in a cycle, you know, or something along those lines, but it wasn't happening. Anyways, and so I figured, well, it's either not there, or maybe I'd have to live for another 100 years. The cycle could be 100 years from now, or 500 years from now. What do I know? But Craig kept pushing me. And so, and we'd go on out and we'd stand there, you know, looking at the mountain as the sun was going down, you know. And, you know, and the next day we'd get out and explore and everything else, you know. And then whenever we could get to some point where the sun's going down, we'd stop and watch the mountain and, you know, see what was going to happen next. Anyways, so I kept waiting. Finally, met Craig out there in November of 2007. It was November 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th. And anyways, and I don't know if I've been out there at those times of the year, and it never happened. And so I was out there in 2006, out there in November, and right before Thanksgiving. I never saw anything like this before. I'm saying it's a cycle. Okay, now maybe I'm wrong. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm saying it's a cycle, according to what I know. But anyways, and so we took pictures of it. And I didn't take a digital picture of it. I got another 35 millimeter, and I made sure the date was correct and everything else. And I had it on a tripod and everything else. We were taking these pictures approximately 2.5 to 3 miles from the mountain. So we're standing on the Inyo Red Rock Road, okay? And where we're standing at is BLM ground. You take 1 foot off of that road, and now you're on the wilderness ground, okay? Which doesn't mean anything, okay? You can take pictures in wilderness ground. But that's how close the perimeter was. And Craig was taking pictures off of the back of his truck, you know? Anyways, so we're taking pictures, and all of a sudden the cycle broke, and now the Giant Serpent turns into the gigantic Giant Serpent. I mean, gigantic. And the Fire Serpent. And then this great big long sword, or whatever it is, takes off next to it. And then there's another face that appears. And immediately recognized it as the Aztec creation story. Because I'd been reading all about it. I wasn't sure it was going to happen. But anyways, and that's what the Aztec creation story all talks about. Talks about the fire serpent, talks about the obsidian knife, and it talks about the moon goddess. Anyways, and there's other entities they talk about, but those are the basics. Anyways, and also Coteclu, which is another mother goddess of the Aztecs, and she's made out of basalt rocks. That's in the Serpent Canyon, and she's in the picture too if you look close enough. Anyways, and so I don't have that info here, but if you look up the creation story, the Aztec creation story, okay, you can read that story. Well, that's what I took a picture of, and so we took that from 2.5 to 3 miles away, and anyways, I want to tell you, there's also you can see it in the pictures, okay, right next to the moon goddess shadow. It's a profile shadow, just like if you were looking at me like this, okay, but it's a shadow of the moon goddess, and you can see her forehead. It comes down, you can see her nose, and you can either also see her mouth with lips and chin. It's dramatic. It's a dramatic picture. Anyways, and of course you'll see the obsidian knife. It's huge, which is in the middle. But in between the obsidian knife and the moon goddess, there is a mound of rocks that come down. And if you look really close, you'll see this mound, the giant mound. It's a part of the mountain. If you look really close, this guy's got a cone head. You know, like Dan Aykroyd. He's got a cone head. He's got eyes. He's got nose. And he's got mouth. And he's gigantic. And that's right next to the moon goddess. So that's in between the moon goddess and the obsidian knife. But it's not a shadow. Okay? It's the mountain itself. You gotta look really close at it. Okay? But it's there. All in one picture.
So, talk about your giant serpent. Comes across with its mouth open and it eats the egg, just like the giant serpent back east in Moundsville area. Where's that at?
Ohio.
Ohio. They have the giant serpent with its mouth open, and there's the mound for the egg that the giant serpent's going to eat.
Yeah.
That's what yours does.
Yeah. I don't think it's an egg.
Okay. What do you think it is?
Tombs. That's what I think. Personal opinion. Every scholar in the world, every archaeologist in the world is going to say he's crazy. It's all BS. How are they going to explain the shadows on the mountain? Yeah. How are they going to do it? What kind of technology are we looking at now? You know, these weren't made by the ancients that we know. This was made by high technology. Technology that we do not even have to this day. We think of our technology as being high. It's nothing. And here it is. It's, in the old Red Rock Road, okay? Just as you're leaving Red Rock Canyon, okay, it's on the right-hand side. Okay, take that road, and you can travel a long ways along that road. Okay, it takes you into your curtain. Okay, or if you don't want to take that road, keep on traveling up Highway 14. If you go far enough, then there'll be a in your curtain turnoff, and you go on down that in your curtain. It's a couple of miles, and you go on down there. You look for a bit. As soon as you start entering town, you'll see a great big, on the right-hand side, a big chain lane yard fence. And there's a barn there, kind of a barn, I guess, or building, big building. And that's the Caltrans yard there. You turn, that's the Inyo Red Rock Road. It's a dirt road. You turn right on that road, and you take that road south, and you go past the CHP station there. So the CHP is there with Caltrans. And you take that south for, I used to know the mileage from there, but it seems to be it's like 8 miles, 8.5 miles. But all you have to look for is when you start coming on up to Black Mountain on the left, is you'll see that there's great big lava fields, okay? And these lava fields come out to within, let's see, 500-600 yards from the road, and they get closer to the road as you're driving south on that road. And anyways, you'll come all the way on up to where those lava fields end. It's very easy. And right where they end, you'll see where there's a bunch of old, where somebody dug in the lava fields right on the corner of it, and there's mounds of dirt and stuff like that. And there's big sandy flat opposite of it. And anyways, that's the end of the lava fields that come on out. Anyways, and so you pull on over into that big flat sandy area where we camped at. Mm-hmm. Okay? And you can go up the road a little bit, anywhere in there. You can stop there, you can camp there, stop there, drive. You don't necessarily have to go out there and camp. Just go there when the sun is setting behind the Sierras. Bring your cameras. You're going to see one of the greatest sights on earth. Anyways.
And so you think this site is Aztlan, part of the ancient Aztec homeland before they migrated to Mexico.
Yeah, right. Actually, not just the Aztecs, right? There was, from everything I've read, other groups that came from this area
There's
as well.
3 groups: Toltecs, Aztecs, and what was the other group?
Was it mine?
Might have been.
Anyways, but they're not responsible for this stuff.
This is older.
This is much older. Now, I want to tell you that there's archaeological reports out there. And, gee, I don't know, can you put those on the video?
Yeah.
You know, the ones I sent you?
Yeah.
Especially that really good one.
I can't, because they're so long, I can't, but I can try and I can have a picture of it on it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe the link to the website?
Yeah, I can put a link to it.
Okay. So they know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I can put a link to it.
Okay. You know, where they go down and they talk in detail about all of the stuff, and especially about the pyramid. Okay? Yeah, so anyways, there's a pyramid there. That'll blow your mind. Okay? I'm talking about all this wild stuff. For years, I kept coming back to my family and friends. I'm telling them all about all this fantastic stuff I'm finding and everything else. And everybody's looking at me like, well, what asylum did this guy escape from? Nothing like that. If I was down in Mexico or South America, I was come back with these stories, there would be a massive rush of expeditions racing for this.
You're right. You're right.
But nothing like this exists in California. This is total fantasy. This guy's crazy. I'm not crazy. Everybody else is crazy. And if you don't believe me, I just gave you the instructions to go out and take your own pictures.
Can't believe you did that.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so the northwest peak has the wolf's head on it. Okay? That's looking directly at you. The southwest peak, okay, so there's northwest peak and there's the southwest peak. The southwest peak is a pyramid. A full-blown pyramid, and it's very good size too. I mean, it's big, it's huge. And I've been up there, I took pictures of it. Unfortunately, I lost the damn pictures someplace. They were pretty good pictures too. But anyways, and so it talks about it in this archaeological report.
Talks about the pyramid.
Yeah, talks about the pyramid. And about the Indian legends there. That the Indian legends talk about it being 10,000 years or beyond old. Well, in my book, I also put other archaeological reports from UCLA and other universities. Okay. And their surveys and everything else, okay? And there is another guy, and this is in the archaeological report I gave you. There's another guy that they talk highly of in this report. Actually, they talk about several people. Okay? But their guy that they talk highly of is this Alex Apostolides. Okay? And anyways, and so there is another website that you can go to and kind of learn all about him and everything. But anyways, he's one of the guys that took a lot of these surveys in the early 1960s. And he's actually the guy responsible for later on for the government to create Red Rock Canyon State Park and to have to protect Last Chance Canyon and the government encroaching upon that whole area and blocking off this and blocking off that.
Yeah, they turned the whole area into a national monument or, a wilderness area.
Right, that nobody can go to. Okay, and then they create buffer zones. Okay, and so they don't want anybody out there. And this is the land. This is the land that was given to us. Doesn't make any sense. Anyways, I could go on and on. I'm not going to get into politics over this thing. Yeah, because, yeah, all I do is get upset and start throwing shoes at my
Don't throw
TV.
shoes at me, man. I just have one thing to say. You keep on mentioning your book, but that's, it's not really for sale. I mean, you don't have any, so this isn't you trying to push a book. And
right.
Maybe somehow I can, if somebody wants them real bad, I don't know if I could twist your arm, but you don't have any to sell. This ain't to sell a book. You're just telling your story.
I'm just telling my story. What happened is is I had a number of scripted books, like the one I gave you, real books.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine came along later on in life, and anyways, he wanted to read my book, and I let him read it, and he was impressed with it, and what he did, and he did this. I didn't ask him to do it, or I didn't even know he was doing it. But he went ahead, and he, page by page, he scanned the whole book, and he put it on a CD, and then gave it to me. And he said, you know what, you should sell your book. Just start making CDs and see if you can sell these things. He says, it's a great book. He says, I've never even read a book like this,
Yeah.
I've never seen stuff like this, I didn't know this stuff existed out there in the middle of California or in the desert, Anyways, so he was really pushing me to do this, Anyways, it kind of reminded me of Chet at the end of my story in the book, But, you'd have to read the book to understand who Chet is. Anyways, but so I thought about it. Yeah, okay, so I got busy and I started making CDs, and I got this little label thing. Oh, how about that? It's by Mr. Avery. Anyways, CD, DVD, label applicator. So I made labels up. Of course, I had to have help with this. And I don't know how to do this stuff, because I'm a prospector, adventurer,
Explorer, researcher.
Yeah, but jack of all trades. But, I don't know how to do any of this stuff. Fortunately for me, I have a very large family. And I got a lot of very, very smart nephews and nieces. Anyways, so I find my two Mexican nephews I love very much, and they help me, and so they help me put it all together, and. So I go out and I get CD, DVD, copier, and I start producing these books myself. I get on eBay, and I start telling my story a little bit on eBay, and I go on other treasure sites and forums, and I start telling my story, and I put up pictures to prove it and everything else. And pretty soon I start selling books. Okay, I'm not charging a fortune for these books, $20. Okay, and I send them to you free, within the United States. I can't do it out, I'm just, I'm not a rich guy. I never made $1 from this.
Yeah.
And I never ever was sponsored.
Yeah.
I never ever had a grant. Okay. I don't know how much money I spent over 30 years of doing this. I spent a lot.
Yeah.
And I almost lost my life more than once.
Yeah.
And anyways, and so I thought, well, it wasn't really about the monetary thing. I thought I could recover a little bit, but it was really about getting the story out, and telling other people of what this was all about. And this was, I didn't even know I was going to write a book, okay? I got involved with some crooks that I thought were going to publish my book, and they didn't.
Wow.
Anyways, and I didn't know where to go with that. And they're in my book too. I took a little revenge on them. Anyways, and but to find out who they are, you're going to have to read the book. But like I said, I don't sell books. You know, I'm out of the bookmaking business. I'm out of selling books and everything else. Sure, I got a copy of the book. I can make copies without a doubt, 100%. Okay, but I ain't making any more labels. I'm not going through the whole rigmarole. I'm not trying to push the book off on anybody.
Right.
You know, it's out there on the internet at different treasure sites and everything else. You don't believe it, you're just going to have to do the research, you know. And if you don't believe it, and you live anywhere within California, Nevada, or Arizona, you know, it's really an easy drive to get there, you know. It's there, you know. It's there 24/7, you know. Of course, different times a year bring different channels, you know. But anyways, so the summertime, June 21st to September 21st, the Giant Serpent is there. Okay, the Giant Serpent changes. There's a change in it, so. As long as this cycle exists, and I don't know how long this cycle exists, I don't know. We were just there a year ago Christmas, or a year ago. Well, this last Christmas would be a year. A year ago in a month, I guess. Is when we were there, Terry?
Oh, it was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago, just before or just after Thanksgiving?
Yeah. It was just after Thanksgiving. It was the week of the end of the week of November into December 2nd.
Yeah.
And it was there. Anyways, and so the fires, what I'm talking about is the Aztec creation story was there. Anyways, and so I'm assuming it's going to be there every year, especially mid-November to December 2nd at least. Okay, maybe into January. I don't know. Okay, I don't go out there that often anymore. In fact, the last time I was out there is when you were out there. But if it wasn't for Craig Collette pushing me,
You gave up, huh?
I would have gave up, and I would never have got those pictures and proved it. And that's proof. That's dead proof. And any scholar in the world, any academic in the world, they can debate it, they can poo-poo it all they want, but it's there. I took the pictures of it, and so did Greg. Okay, and anyways, and so I had the negatives for a while, but I gave them to a friend to hold, and now he's got them.
Thank you, and if you want them back, just let me know.
I wasn't going to put that in, but okay.
Okay.
I guess that's all I got to say.
Well, I appreciate it, Darrell, because it's a great story, and not only is it a great story, but it shows the tenacity or that you had to find out what was on your mountain, because this didn't happen over a year or 2 years. This took your whole lifetime. And there's not a lot of people that would do that.
Yeah.
You know, there is not a lot of people that would do that.
Yeah.
So, thanks for sharing that.
Okay, you're welcome.
That's a wrap. Thanks.
Okay.